Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I just want to thank you very much for having me here today. It's been an absolute pleasure to listen to all of your different talks so far and all the different angles we've heard about identity. So, as the penultimate talk this evening, I'd like to talk to you about my identity and what it means to me as being a designer. So when I was first asked to do this talk, my initial reaction was, great, no problem. A lot of my projects address the ideas of identity, and a lot of the other projects I participated on also deal with it as well. So I sat down and I started to write. I wrote something, and then I deleted it. I wrote something more, and then I deleted it again. And then I wrote something more, and then, yeah, you've probably guessed it. I deleted it. Every time I wrote something, my identity grew and my talk changed. My identity is massive. I'm a woman, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a friend, I'm a 31-year-old, I'm a Londoner, I'm a designer as well as a traveller. I mean, I'm everything from the word dot to where I stand here today. So how can I talk about identity when everything makes me, me? So feeling rather daunted by the task, I accepted an invitation out that evening with a friend. We spent the night talking to lots of different people, making friends and having a bit of a networking session, really. But what I realised throughout the evening was that the same question was coming up time and time again. What do you do? What do you do? Well, what do I do? Well, finding it slightly easier to answer the question throughout the evening, I realised that this hadn't always been the case. And I found myself, almost a year ago to this day, asking that very same question. What am I doing? The short of it was, I was having an identity crisis. I found myself sitting there on the wettest day of the year in a car park, crying my eyes out. I had lost my job, and it felt like the world had swallowed me whole. I'd been working in a job that was set to influence my career for the rest of my life. The credentials for the job offered me a secure and seamless career path that was safe. Sadly, I was soon to discover that I didn't fit. And well, basically, I was a round peg in a square hole. I'd come to realise the pressure that I'd put myself under for the things that should make me happy were in fact misread signposts and a detour in my direction. I realised that rather than becoming part of the machine to help it work, I was in fact the cog that didn't fit, and I needed to be replaced. Sitting in that car on that miserable day was the lowest that I had felt in a very long time. I had lost my direction, my drive, and really, my identity. At this point, there was nothing left to lose, and so I decided I needed to rebuild. The first thing I did was write a letter to the many different influences within that company and thank them for their time and their support. I took ownership over my feelings, and I recognised that this crisis would be something I would grow and learn from. Hollowed by this lack of confidence and admittance to failure, with a loss in direction, I realised at the core of it all, I wasn't happy. Without consciously thinking and as a stopgap to time wasting while looking for another job, I pulled out boxes from underneath my bed, found archives of materials, incomplete projects, and I started to make. I cannot tell you how much happiness I felt in those few weeks while I was making. Slowly but surely, the darkness lifted and I lost myself in a process of making. With no direction or pressure to a deadline, I had complete creative freedom to do what I wanted to do. I didn't have to justify what I was making, for whom I was making it for, or for where it was supposed to live. All I was limited to was that box of materials and the limited amount of tools I had buried beneath my bed. I was in heaven. Realising what should make me happy and what actually was making me happy was becoming clear. I needed to make things. I needed to make things to make me happy. I needed to make me happy. Now, I have had the privilege to work with some of the most amazing minds and be taught by some of the most influential designers of today. And what I would like to do with you now is share some of those projects that have taken me all across the world and celebrated the power of making. In 2012, I was invited to Brazil by the designer Marcelo Rosenbaum to participate on a large community project that saw the transformation of their living space. The area started as a rough football pitch surrounded by self-built houses, and working with the community to inspire and motivate them, we started to see the project take shape. Within less than 10 days, we had painted all of the facades of the buildings surrounding the football pitches with bright colours that reflected all the personalities within. And a large play area was constructed for the future generations to play in. The gratitude and sense of togetherness within that project was moving, and something I will keep with me forever. It was humbling, and I was so proud to be part of that project, I wanted to offer something back to the team. Marcelo invited us to his house for dinner, and I created the second instalment of a project called The Meal. This was a project that I created that asked a group of people to collectively work together to create a meal. In order to liven things up and generate more communication during this process, I placed rules into the mix. The 5 different food groups were divided into categories, and it was encouraged to allow them to cross over when inventing these new dishes. The waste played a very important part in serving the dishes, as everything taken from the table had to be put back. This meant that we saw squeezed half oranges becoming cups, hollowed out bread loaves becoming bowls for soup, salad leaves becoming dip holders, and celery sticks, peppers, and prawns became spoons. It was very messy, but it was very fun. New flavours were invented and cross-cultural influences happened. It became a passion to play with food, and as we saw day turn to night, we celebrated our successes until the early hours. News of this event spread far and wide, and I was invited back the following year to Brazil to do the launch for São Paulo Gallery. The audience was larger this time, and the speed in which we created went from kind of conversational to pretty rapid. I love the enthusiasm in this photograph at the top. You've either got a face full of concentration, a little bit of panic, pure enjoyment, or you've got Marcelo at the bottom getting completely carried away by pouring that whole bottle of rum into the hollowed out watermelon. So my love of making and interest in its origins have taken me all across the globe, but none more interesting than rural Romania. I was invited to stay on a farm where the main income was limestone burning. Through the days that we spent learning the trade, I interrogated the material and I saw an opportunity to create. As an offering back to the hospitality from the hosts, we proposed an idea. We bound ourselves to only the materials that we collected from the farm. So we harvested potatoes from the garden and cut them into crosses. We mixed line slip with natural pigments and we made a paint. And then we marked a series of crosses on the wall and we started to print. We had no idea if the process that we'd actually designed would really work. But we pushed through regardless of the boiling hot sun, and we started to see results. It was just a fantastic moment when we all stood back and we realised that what we had made was really working. With the same tenacity, I approached this next project, Home Sweet Home. Imagine, it's night. One lonely light remains in a tower block that once would have housed 100 people. That lonely light represents the only remaining resident left in that building. That remaining resident is waiting for to be rehoused across the borough, as the building was soon to be demolished. Many buildings told this story on the Ferrier estate, and Home Sweet Home paid homage to the residents in South East London. Through a series of photographic documentation, interviews, and cross-stitch samplers, the project offered a voice back to the people. The exhibition took place illegally on the estate, and we fly-posted posters of the portraits of the people down one side and the cross-stitch samplers down the other. Although the majority of the work was destroyed when the building finally came down, a book and a documentary were made in honour of the people. Reminding myself what I had achieved in such short periods of time and with a huge amount of motivation made me realise my potential. I'd gone through a cathartic process of making, and the evidence was in a few material samples I could see potential in. I had no idea my happiness was buried beneath my bed, and all it took were a handful of safety pins and some brass chain. I needed very little pressure at this point, but I was asked to co-curate an exhibition at London Design Week in September last year. Compelled to make something new and that would continue to make me happy, I looked to gain new skills and find a material that would complement my samples. A friend pointed me in the direction of Jochen, a very talented glass blower. We worked through ideas and discussed things as we went, building 3D sketches from materials left around the studio and then translating them into blown glass. And slowly, but surely, Fibula Lux was born. I was so excited and so proud to share my product at this exhibition, and the audience received it well, and I took a commission. After this, people started to ask if I could change the colours of the cables, do them in different coloured safety pins, and do them in larger scales for site-specific spaces. I reinvested the money each time and took from the commissions and started to develop a collection. Soon, my happiness was no longer purely in the making, but also in the opportunities that were coming from my positive hard work. I had set up my own company, Sarah Colson Limited. I had designed a complete collection and was being offered amazing opportunities, such as this, all around the world. Finally, only last month, I launched the collection at Milan Furniture Fair, where I was flattered to receive outstanding reviews by the press and overwhelmed to come home with full order books. So, identity. My identity. Well, I see identity as a fluid concept that is shaped by many different influences within life. It's a constant evolution that breaks you down and rebuilds you. It's a fear as well as a motivation. My evolving search has taught me to find what makes me happy, trust and be brave, work hard as that sense of satisfaction will always pay off. And I look back at that dreadful moment on that miserable day as a defining moment, as a moment when I decided to become the architect of my own future and not a victim of it. Taking that time and that opportunity to understand my identity and discover what made me happy has been invaluable. Now I know that in order to be successful, motivated and challenged, I need to make me happy. Thank you very much.